you allow me to do that. So now it is recording. Okay. So, and now I'm sharing phone. Screen. Okay. طيب, I'm assuming يا شباب you can see the screen and you can see my video, صح?
We can.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, it's perfect.
تمام. طيب. Let's do this. معلش بسوي شغلة ممكن الصورة. طيب يا شباب. So let's go over the presentation of today's class. طبعا we'll have introduction to the course. I'll just go over the topics, objectives of the course, some logistics, and the grading. And then we'll do some basics review. طبعا I know some of you need to some refreshment of our electronics 203. So we'll do a very quick refreshment. If we cannot finish by today, we'll continue on Tuesday the basics review. So Shabab, make sure that you attend the basics review. Make sure that you understand everything in the basics review, because this is the basic ground that will build up for our following topics, inshallah. طبعا for the course, we'll study, or these are the objectives for the course. So we'll have, or we study the operations, the characteristic of differential amplifiers for both the BGT and the MOSFET. طبعا we'll inshallah teach you shabab what is a differential amplifier, and we'll also study the operation of the differential amplifier. Then we'll study the frequency response. Usually we did the DC and the AC analysis for amplifiers in EE303. يعني لما تكون عندك amplifier مثلا common gate, common source, whatever, we give you that amplifier, you find the DC operating point, and from there you find the AC parameters, and then that's it. For 203, for 303, we'll do one step further. We'll study the frequency response of that amplifier. So we'll do something what we call bandwidth. We'll find the bandwidth, we can quantify the bandwidth, and we'll see the operation in the frequency domain. Then we have some building blocks. We'll go over them, and also we'll study them in details. These are the amplifiers, filters, and oscillators. Okay, and these are very important. I will show you in a minute a real application where we can use these blocks. And then we'll study some tools that are very good tools in doing electronics, like pole zero calculations, S-domain, and also the feedback. We'll cover them, inshallah. And finally, we'll go over the data converters in short, in brief, like 1 week. We'll just study how we convert the signal from analog to digital and vice versa. Okay. Shabab, if you have any question, I don't think I can see the chat or your hands, but if you have any question, just interrupt. طيب. طبعا we have the textbook. It is the microelectronic circuits of Sidra. It is the same textbook in 203. Okay. Make sure, Shabab, you have the textbook, because we have some reading assignments. These reading assignments are not graded, but I need you, Shabab, to make sure you are following with the course. I need you to go over the reading assignments every week. That's by that way, inshallah, you will follow with the course. So make sure you have it. You have a copy of this book. طبعا some figures of these presentations in my slides will be also using some parts of this great textbook, which is Fundamental of Microelectronics. It's not our textbook, but it is a very good reference in microelectronics in general. طبعا for the course, we'll use the Blackboard for class notes, assignments, everything, or any other documentation. So any document will be shared and will be distributed using Blackboard. But for our classes, we'll use the Microsoft Teams because it is very smooth. So we'll do our classes, the virtual classes in Microsoft Teams, as we are doing right now. Okay.
Excuse me, Doctor.
تفضل أحمد.
Textbooks, we can't get it physically. Can we have a copy online or something?
شباب, if anyone can share some طبعا sharing ebook online, I don't think that's a good idea from the copyright point of view, but in general, if you can get to the library, the KFUPM library, I think you can get an ebook. That's for free. So if you can check the library, KFUPM library, that's I think one way to do it. Because I cannot share, I cannot scan parts of the book and share it with you guys. It's illegal. So we want to make sure everything is okay. So this is one way. The other way, if you can, maybe some parts only, طبعا 20% is okay. Copying 20%, I mean sharing 20%, it's okay from copyright point of view. So maybe you can do that for some parts of the book. But in general, just try your best to get the ebook at least. Well, I think it is available. يعني في ال KFUPM resources, the ebook should be available. Okay. طبعا most of the slides should be enough. لكن I need you to go and read to get the يعني much depth in the subject. طيب. طبعا شباب, for the homeworks also it will be on Blackboard, but I'll be using what is called GradeScope. Sorry. طبعا GradeScope now I talked to the ICTC and they're trying to integrate this one to the Blackboard. The GradeScope is a great grading tool, so I want to make sure it is available in Blackboard. By homework 1, inshallah, it will be ready and more information will be inshallah shared with you guys. If we cannot do the integration with the Blackboard, most likely I will ask you guys to make an account in the GradeScope and upload your homework there. طبعا all of these details will be shared with you later inshallah, before homework 1, submission of homework 1, which is I guess the 3rd week of the semester. طيب, for the attendance, طبعا this is an online and it is a recorded. It is recorded. I mean, every class will be recorded. Then you can go back and check the recording. But I need you, Shabab, I encourage you all to attend the class because we need to have you sometimes we'll ask you to do some groups. You'll be doing some problems. And also, I'll be counting the attendance by the end of every session. So we need to make sure that you are following with the course. Okay. So يعني you need to attend the class as if it is physical attendance. So make sure you are available. طبعا مثل ما قلت لكم شباب, yes, it is recorded and you can go back and check. That's fine. But again, I needed to be in class with us every time. For the grading, we have, طبعا, for this semester, we'll have normal letter grades, okay? A+, A, B, C, and so on. It's not like our last semester, pass or fail. So it will be normal letter grades. And we'll have this distribution, and it is basically based on our format after the 7th week. So, for the quizzes, homeworks, project, and lab, they are fixed. We have 10% for the quizzes, 5% for the homeworks, 5% for the project, 20% for the lab. That's for sure. I mean, they don't have anything related to the delivery format of the course. But if we have an online, if we continue online for the rest of the semester, what we'll do, we'll have a 15% for the midterm, 25% for the final, and then we'll have also some short tests between them on Blackboard, and those are like 5 to 10% of the grades. If we switch to regular, طبعا we'll have our midterm for 25%, and we'll have our final exam of 35%. Okay. Any questions, Shabab, regarding the grading?
Doctor, I have one.
Mm-hmm.
If we change the delivery format to be a regular basis, are we going to cancel the short tests that we already have done?
Yes. You mean over the blackboard?
I mean, we're gonna take for sure short tests within
Yes,
the coming 7 weeks.
Yes.
So if we turn it to be a regular basis, we're gonna.
Those two tests were scheduled because we are kind of certain that our midterm most likely it will be online because it will be in the 8th week. Okay. And most likely for you guys, you cannot attend and you cannot go and travel and come back to the university within 2 weeks. So most likely our midterm, it will be online. But for now, we'll keep it as is, like we have, as if we have a regular midterm or online midterm. But we are, I mean, myself, I am 80% sure that it will be online midterm exam. So that's those two tests. If you can see the schedule, we have 2 tests before the midterm exam for 10%. Okay.
Okay,
so
well answered.
If you add that, so we have 10% here, and then we have الآن مثلا خلونا نقول regular. If it is regular, you most likely the short test will have a 10% midterm, طبعا, as I told you, Shabab, online, and then we'll have our final for 35 points. Just in case, if we handle or if we are able to make it a regular midterm, now I will go. I mean, I will check this case inshallah later on. But for sure, it will not be cancelled. Your online test that you did before the midterm exam, it will not be cancelled. I will find a way to make it also added to the grading to your grades. Okay. For the office hours, Shabab, we have Sunday, Tuesday, 1 to 2 p.m. after the class, and it will be based on phone calls only. So if you have any problem, you can email me, Shabab, always. But if you want to speak with me, you can call me on this number. This is my telephone number after the class for 1 hour. Okay, Shabab? These are the ground rules I like to share with the students usually. So if you allow me to go over them. Okay. For you guys, I am expecting you to show up in the beginning of the class. This is a basic rule. And also active participation is expected. Actually, this is an online sitting. So usually I feel now alone in the office talking to myself. So that's why I need you to be active. I need to hear your voices from time to time. Maybe sometimes I ask you to write something in the chat. So active participation is expected, and also it will help me and help you guys to go over the course in a good way, inshallah. طبعا no makeup exams or quizzes for those who could not present an excuse for their absences. So make sure if we schedule a quiz or an exam that you attend the quiz and the exam at the same time, and virtually or physically after the 7th week. But if you couldn't, you need to present an official excuse to give you a makeup. For the late submission of homework will not be accepted. Sometimes we do some extension based on the situation, based on the class, how we are going with the class, how we are running the class. But if we fix the deadline, for example, homework 1 is required or due on Sunday that week, and you submit the homework on Monday, that will not be accepted at all, even with partial grade. So make sure you are doing or you're meeting the deadlines. If you could not submit the homework fully, it's okay. Just submit 2 or 3 questions out of, let's say, 5 or 6. Okay, but missing the deadlines of the homework will not be accepted, because usually what I do, and some of you know my policy, if I upload the homework, if it is due, for example, 12 p.m., usually the solution will be available at 12:30 of that day. طيب. طبعا this is expected. Students are expected to adhere to the university integrity violation rules. طبعا any violation شباب will be taken seriously, and put many lines as you want under this word. So make it, take it شباب seriously. طبعا now it is in your own. We trust you guys as always, and this is my rule, and this is actually my belief with my students. We trust you in every single thing related to the rules of the integrity. But just in case if you violate that rule, that trust will be gone. So make sure, Shabab, you are doing your homework alone, or even in group. That's okay with me. If you want to do your homeworks in group, and then you understand every bit with that homework, that's okay. But your submission need to be individual submission. Your work need to be done by yourself. Okay. So any sign of copying or cheating will be taken very seriously. And sometimes I ask you, Shabab, for example, some quizzes ask you to do a closed book or closed notes quiz. So we expect you to do that. We don't have any control. I mean, you can do whatever in your own, but we trust you. We use the trust here. طيب. طبعا group work is encouraged, but also you need to do something. If it is individual submission, you need to make sure that's your own work. If you want to send an email, Shabab, try to send an email professionally. At least write the title of the subject. For example, EE303 and your subject, like a submission of something, or late for doing something, or personal kind of advice, or whatever. Okay. طبعا شباب, remember as always, there is no stupid questions. Always ask يا شباب. I encourage you all to ask everything. تمام. If I don't have the answer, I'll try my best, inshallah, to go and check the answer for you guys. But I need you to ask. طبعا it's not too late for you guys to ask. For example, مثلا, if you feel this subject is already covered in the last, for example, class, you can ask. If I feel that I can answer you, I will answer you, inshallah. If I feel no, you need to go and check that class, I will ask you to do that. Okay? So always ask the questions that is in your mind. طبعا يا شباب, take notes as much as you can, even in the online format. You need to write down, you need to have your notes ready. So if you have your notes, your pen, and you are following with me, inshallah, it will be very easy for you guys to digest the topics of 303. Okay, so try your best to take notes in your own. طيب. I don't know if you can see this one. This one, الشباب, اللي هي this window. اوكي صح. طيب ممتاز. ممتاز جدا. طيب. طبعا these are the electronics courses at KFUPM. I like, at this level you're now mature, and now I need you to know the courses that we have in electronics for the senior projects, courses, and also the graduate courses. طبعا for us, we have two fundamentals courses, 203 and 303. Okay, and now if you are done with the 303, you are done with fundamentals. For senior level, we have these courses. Okay, 434, industrial instrumentation, industrial electronics, communication, analog communication, digital communication. Those are electronics courses, and also power electronics. And these courses, as I mentioned here, they are all applications. So usually we take some application, for example, analog communication, and we study the transceiver and receiver and so on for that kind of system. So these are applications. If you are interested more in doing the system level, circuit level, or transistor level, these are the courses that we have. So for any electronics problem, usually شباب you have what? You have a specification. مثلا واحد جاك وقال لك أنا أبغى الgain that much, let's say 100, and the bandwidth is that much, and maybe linearity or whatever, the power consumption and so on. From there, and also the functionality, is it an amplifier, filter, oscillator, whatever. From there, you will decide on your block or the building block, and then you have the option to go over the details, the transistor level, and this is what we'll do in the differential amplifier. In the differential amplifier, actually what we are doing kind of IC design, okay? IC, it is abbreviation for integrated circuit, okay? IC stands for integrated circuit. So if you are doing integrated circuit, then you go and check every transistor. What is the operation region of each transistor? Is it operational in a good, the operation is, the DC operating point is meeting the requirement or not, and so on. And then you are doing the layout and other stuff, fabrication. This is one route. So if you are doing this, now we have one senior course, which is 425. It is analog integrated circuit design. And also, if you are interested in fabrication, how these semiconductors are fabricated, you can also take the fabrication course of Dr. Jonathan usually, or Dr. Firas, 498. Okay, but if you are interested, or if you want to take your block as is, as a system level, okay, now that's the course that you are in, that you want to take, which is 426. That's a system level course. So this kind of an overview for electronics courses that we have in the department. طبعا those are in red, are graduate courses, which is like 545, 541, 642, 542. Okay. طيب. Okay. I'll go back and check. I think we talked about this one already, but give you like a flavor for the timing or time distribution for the course. So we'll talk about differential amplifiers mainly for integrated circuit, and inshallah it will be for 2 weeks. Then we'll have, we have 6 topics. 3 of them will be fundamentals and tools, and the other 3 will be our system level or our applications. So we'll have differential amplifier for 2 weeks, then frequency response for 3 weeks, then the feedback or for 3 weeks. Usually we'll take our midterm here, okay? So these topics will be covered in the midterm exam, maybe part of the feedback, not all the feedback, but inshallah we'll talk about this one later on. Then we'll go over the applications. So we'll talk about filters, active filters, second order filters for 3 weeks. We'll talk about oscillators, sometimes of oscillators like LC oscillator, active oscillator, RC oscillator, and so on for 3 weeks. And then we'll finish or close our course with some introduction to the data converters for 1 week. It's like 2 or 3 lectures, inshallah. Okay. طيب. طبعا this slide is for you guys to link the topics to each other. I needed to go over this slide and go in details like what does it mean that why we are studying, for example, the frequency response. Okay, so make sure you are following, you are linking the topics to each other. Right, let's give you this real application to also give you a flavor for or why we are studying these topics. Okay, and that's, I guess, our last slide before we go to the basics review. We still have 20 minutes, inshallah. Right, this is a real life application. For example, if you have physical quantity and physical quantity, it can be a voice, it can be a pressure or whatever. Let's, for example, take the microphone and the speaker. So it's a voice, it's like a sound. So now you have a microphone here, which is the sensor. Your sensor is a microphone. That microphone will sense your some vibration and try to understand that vibration. The circuit does not understand your sound, right? So we need to make that one understandable to the circuit, and we can deal with it with the circuit point of view. So this is your microphone. then that vibration, little vibration, will be amplified. So we need an amplifier, okay? But also that amplification or that kind of signal coming from the sensor associated يا شباب with noise, some noise. فالآن عندك إيش؟ عندك small vibration with some noise. Okay, if you have the noise مثلا with the blue, you have this noise. So we want to take this noise off. Okay, to make it very clear signal. So we need a filter. And then if we have an analog signal here, okay, we want to transfer or to convert that analog signal to digital signal, to 0 and 1s, okay, or to send it to the DSP, low digital signal processing unit, اللي هي بالعادة يكون ايش يا شباب؟ microcontroller or processor or whatever. So to do that, we need an analog to digital converter. So we have an amplifier, we have filters, we have EDCs, and we can do the same when we go back to the speaker. Now you want to, the actuator here is your speaker. Okay, so this is the microphone, and now this is your speaker. So going that route from here to there, you need these kind of blocks, and then also you need to go back by converting the digital signal to analog signal and send it to the speaker. In all of these blocks, you need some clocks. You need some clocks. You need some sinusoidal waves sometimes to work with the signals here and there, either in the filters, in the ADC, DAC, and so on. So that's why we will study the oscillator. So if you study these 3, 1, 2, and 3 in details, and then we touch upon the ADC, now you have a clear picture of the system. Okay, so that's why we do that in 303 in details. طيب, any question شباب before we go to the basics review? أنا بشوف الشات, نبغى صفر. وين الشات؟ I cannot see the chat. Okay, طبعا I'll do this إن شاء الله next week, next class, which is Tuesday. I'll try to have the chat here available because I need you to see some traction. طيب, let's follow, or let's continue, sorry, with the basics review. So these are the outlines for our basics review. I'll go over some like very basics for the circuit theory, some fundamental laws, voltage divider rules, and so on. And then we'll go over the semiconductor. This is basically from your EE303, and this is basically from your EE302. Okay, and we need these kind of review to make sure, يعني, inshallah, you understand whatever coming for 303. This is very basic. Fundamental laws. We have very basic and fundamental 3 laws that we deal a lot when we talk about the circuit theory or when we talk about analyzing the circuit. So we have Ohm's law, okay? We have KCL and KVL. And I need to write this. It is clear, but I need to write this down, ya shabab. So make sure you know these stuff. And I am sure that you know these stuff, but just a refreshment, inshallah, after this long vacation. So you know the Ohm's law, it's voltage equals I times R. The KCL, it's the current, the entering current for a node equals the output current, the total output current of that node. So if you have this node, okay. So if you have this one, I1, I2, I3, basically using the KCL, I1 equals I2 plus I3. And what is good about the KCL, you can do also that for super node, okay, for a circuit. So if you have, for example, this circuit, this is a circuit here, and you have a current here coming, current here going out, another one going out, another one coming here, and you don't care about the circuit, what is going inside. I mean, the internal details or nodes of that circuit. So this is circuit 1, okay? I1, I2, I3, and I4. You can still do the KCL here as I1 plus I2 equals I3 plus I4. Okay, and we'll do this one a lot يا شباب in our analysis in 303. طيب, for the KVL, the total or the summation of total voltages in a loop equals to 0. Okay, so this is طبعا for a loop. Okay, so for example, if you have let's do the common source here. If you have VDD and you have, for example, ID here, RD. I try to make it more challenging for you, Shabab. Let's find the Shabab VD. What is VD here? Oops, sorry. I don't know what happened here. Okay. Let's try finding VD. What will be your VD? What do you think, Shabab?
VD minus RD multiplied by ID.
Yes. So VD equals VDD minus ID times RD. Okay. And this is what we did in 203 quite a lot in our analysis for the circuits. Okay. And it is nothing but a KVL. You are doing a KVL here, a voltage, cache of voltage law. Okay. And so on. Right. These are some helpful rules. And for the series connection, parallel connection, also these are basics. The resistance and inductance adds up in the series connection, while the capacitance shrinks down. It is the opposite with the parallel connection. So if you have two capacitors in parallel, they will have a much higher capacitance. And it will be the opposite with the resistance and inductance. Okay. The very nice rule that I want you to make sure that you understand it and you know how to deal with it. It is the voltage division rule or voltage divider rule, the VDR. So if you have, for example, this one, we have R1. And looks simple, but when it comes to the some applications, it is very easy to use the VDR, much better than doing the KVL and KCL and so on. So R2 and R3. And just in case, if I connect the the gate of the transistor, the MOSFET, to that point, and I ask you to find the gate. So the gate will be R3 over R1 plus R2 plus R3 multiplied by VDD. Okay. So these are it is very helpful rule. The other counterpart of this one, it's our current divider rule. Okay. And in the current divider rule, we usually like to use the conductance. What is conductance, Shabab?
1 over R.
1 over R. So it is the opposite of the resistance. And if you have this or this network, R1, R2, R3, okay? And for example, you have a current here. So this is I, let's call it N, as it is written there. And I ask you to find IX here. So IX here will be what? Right away, using the equation, will be G3 over G1 plus G2 plus G3, right? But sometimes some of you guys will say, okay, use the other parallel combination for R1 مع R2 and then you divide by the total resistance and so on. That's okay, but the conductance is much better in the CDR because now we are dealing with a shunt connection of the resistors. Okay. Right. For Thevenin, we have two steps to find طبعا Thevenin in general. Why we need Thevenin? if you have any circuit, okay, and you can find, you are interested to know the output of the circuit. يعني طبعا يا شباب, you have, for example, 100 transistors inside this block, okay? But I don't want to go over the details of these, of the internal internal circuit of that block. So what we can do, we can use thieving to simplify the circuit and make this one as this simple circuit. So we have a resistor and that one connected with a voltage source. So we call this one R thieving and we call this one V thieving. Okay, so we have two elements. يعني imagine يا شباب, you simplify the circuit, the whole circuit, with very simple circuit اللي هو R thieving and V thieving. And to do that, we can do it in two steps. One is finding the open source voltage, which is the V thieving. Okay, and then, okay, معلش, I should write it down here, but anyway, it should be inshallah. Okay, في شيء ثاني, تمام. Let me write it down here. So this one is your circuit, A and B, and this is our thieving equivalent. Okay, it can be, so this one R thieving, V thieving, and this one, of course, between A and B. طبعا B is ground, B is grounded here. So to do that, you find the open circuit voltage. Okay, you just measure the open circuit voltage. By the way, in the lab, you can do that. You can just measure the open circuit voltage, and that's your thieving voltage. And then you deactivate all independent sources inside the circuit. For example, you have a current here, you have voltage there, you have another voltage there, and so on. You deactivate all of them. The current will be open and the voltage will be short. Then you find the equivalent resistance seen by AB. So the equivalent resistance seen by AB is between these terminals is your thieving resistance, which is the thieving R thieving. Okay. طبعا the equivalent of thieving is Norton. You can change between Norton equivalence and thieving, but we use thieving quite a lot, and that's why I bring it here. Sometimes يا شباب we have independent sources, sorry, dependent sources. طبعا independent sources واضحة. Independent, يعني لما يجيك عندك هنا voltage, what is this one? It is independent source. Okay, it can represent a battery. طيب. But what about dependent sources, which is this one here? Something like this. Why we need them يا شباب? What do you think? احنا عرفنا الآن dependent sources نحتاجها بشكل مباشر لأنها تعطينا فكرة عن الفولتج or even the current. So the current can be independent source, تمام, coming from whatever the source. But what about independent sources? Sorry, I keep saying it. These are dependent sources. What about the dependent sources يا شباب? ليش نحتاج dependent sources? What do you think? سؤال قبله, هل الديبندنت سورسز موجوده بالسوق؟ يعني موجوده تروح تشتري ديبندنت سورس؟ هنا اقدر اروح اشتري باتري صح؟ طبعا على فكره الكرنت سورس مش موجود, انت تقدر تسوي كرنت سورس, بس ليتس اسيوم انه موجود من اللاب. هل في حتى في اللاب, هل في اللاب ديبندنت سورس؟
لا ما
في اللاب ما في شيء اسمه ديبندنت سورس. يعني ما تقدر انت تسوي شيء كذا تحط ترانزستور مع ريزستور مع كذا تطلع منه ديبندنت سورس. طيب ليش؟ why you study them؟
موديل سم
بالضبط. Dependent sources الشباب are needed for modeling. So if you want to model, for example, a complicated circuit, you can use a dependent source to model the circuit. And that's why if you see a dependent source, make sure this is not your real circuit. Okay, that's a model for your circuit that you can use it for your analysis. So that's one thing. I needed to know that dependent sources are needed or used usually with modeling some complicated circuit or complicated even structures like ideal op-amp. So when we talk about the ideal op-amp, if you still remember this one here, we said, okay, we can model it as such. So we have a voltage controlled voltage source, and then we have a resistor here. Okay, something like this. So this is one way to do that. And of course, this one, your output, and this is connected to ground. Okay, and also the MOSFET. When we talk about the MOSFET, it is a voltage controlled, current controlled voltage source with some resistor connected as such. Okay, so these are dependent sources and used for modeling. Okay. Okay, for now, I don't think we have time to go over the semiconductors, but just very briefly, Shabab, I need you to go over these slides of the semiconductor. We'll talk about the details of the diode from next class. So these are just the definition of the semiconductor, why we are interested in doing semiconductor, what is the difference between semiconductor and conductors and insulators in general, okay? And then we talked about this one, which is the intrinsic and extrinsic materials. طبعا I will upload the slides for you, Shabab. Then one here, I need you for this slide to know that we have energy gaps. Our electrons are available in gaps, in levels around around the atom. And طبعا from this slide also we have what we call a valence band and conduction band, and we need our electron to go to the conduction band to make or to conduct or to have a current to flow. طبعا we'll continue also doing the thermal generation. What is the difference between the equilibrium and the thermal generation؟ لأنه equilibrium معناته الاتومز الالكترونز في الاتومز ايش؟ ما يتحركون. Once it is exposed to some thermal excitation, now the electrons will move and the holes will be created, and that's why we do what we call electron hole pair generation. Okay, and all of this, Shabab, the recombination between them, all these details are not needed by now, but I need you to make kind of bird view of the semiconductor, what is going inside. يعني الاتوم by itself هي بالاكليبريم state. لما تجيب thermal excitation لها يعني حرارة وكذا electrons تتحرك. Okay, then once electrons move from valence band to conduction band, now you have some holes, and now if a hole is created, another electron will go and try to occupy that hole, and so on. So now you have some movement, and this is what we call drift current or drift. And in general, we call it thermal generation. طبعا up to now we don't have current اللي هو real current. الآن فقط thermal generation. But when you have a voltage connected to the whatever that semiconductor, you now create some flow for the current. I think it's time for me to stop here, and I will continue inshallah next week. Next class, going to, let's say, slide 18. Yes, maybe slide 18. Okay. Any question, Shabab?
يا دكتور أنا عندي question.
تفضل.
Regarding
طبعا الشباب
the
معلش يحيى الشباب if you want you can leave لأن it's already 12:53 now. تفضل يحيى.
regarding the dependent sources يا دكتور، أذكر في 203 كنا نقدر نسوي dependent source from the memory scheme الميرورز.
أيوة.
يعني باستخدام transistors we can do dependent sources.
dependent تقصد الكرنت.
الكرنت dependent source بالضبط.
لا current independent source. So if you have خلينا ارجع هنا اسوي share عشان اكتب بعدين انا اشيلها. If you have for example sources like this one here, okay, as a resistor, and then you connect it such a way.
ايوه.
Yeah. So this is what we call current source.
هذا
Okay,
current
sorry.
source.
current نازل. ايه current source. هذا current هو independent source، ما زال independent source. تمام؟ فهو بالاخير independent source سواء voltage او current، لكن مستحيل تروح المعمل وتسوي dependent source. يعني اصلا ما في فائده انك تسوي dependent source بشكل مباشر. نستخدم الديبندنت سورس بالعاده فقط for modeling the circuit.
يعني بس عشان نسهل المفاهيم.
كيف؟
نسهل المفاهيم تبع
سهل المفاهيم. نعم،
عشان
يعني بدل ما تتعامل مع الأوبام من داخل، يعني الأوبام تقريبا 25 transistors and more, and now you can model it with just one single مثلا dependent source مع شوية resistor وكاباستر وخلاص يعني. اوكي.
شكرا يا دكتور.
الله يفتح عليك. موفقين يا شباب.
مع السلامة.
بس يا دكتور، من وين نحصل السلايدات هذه؟
بنزلها بالبلاك بورد ان شاء الله.
اوكي، يعطيك العافيه.
يا دكتور معليش سؤال اخير.
تفضل.